Hey guys, it's Allie. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be sharing some tips on renting a car abroad. Okay, so a tip we share often is that you should rent or get your own transportation. So rent a car when you're traveling to different countries. So definitely make sure that you book your car in advance. Don't just expect to show up. Some places are going to have limited inventory. Now, some places have tons of cars. Like some place like Ireland is going to have hundreds of cars available, but some places like say Faroe Islands only have so many cars available. So you have to really make sure that you book it in advance, and also keep in mind that you have to book in advance if you want an automatic or a manual. Now, it is going to be cheaper to rent a manual. Just keep in mind that in places like Ireland, you're going to be driving on the other side of the car, on the other side of the road if you're from the US. So keep that in mind. It's a lot to process. It's challenging enough driving on the other side from where you are used to driving. So just kind of keep that in mind as you're renting your car. It's going to be a little bit more for an automatic, but it's also going to be a little bit easier on you for your trip as well. The next one is insurance. So a lot of times people say, well, my credit card covers it. And that's great, but in some places like Iceland, Ireland, Faroe Islands, you're gonna want to spring for the extra insurance. Don't just rely on your credit card to cover it, because oftentimes, especially in places like Ireland, they're not going to take it. You're going to have to get their insurance. So unless you've got like a letter from your credit card company stating that they will cover those charges, or if they can get them on the phone and tell them that they'll cover the insurance, then they'll let you, but 99.999 times it is not covered. So you are going to have to get the insurance in order to rent the car at some places, especially some place like Ireland. And in places like Iceland, it's very important to get the highest possible insurance. So make sure that you are doing your research on what you need and what level of insurance you need at each place, because it is a little bit different in each one of those locations. And we've got videos on all of those, so make sure you guys stay tuned and watch out for those, because they are going to be very helpful for you as you're planning your trip there, and also going to save you some money. The next one is just preparing yourself mentally if you're going to have to drive on the other side of the road. Again, you think to yourself, no big deal, but there's really a lot of thought that goes into switching those natural tendencies to, just pop out. You have to really think about it and process stuff. So just think about that and prepare yourself mentally. Get emergency information from the rental car agency in the event that something should happen. If your windshield gets a big crack in it, or if you get a flat tire, or maybe your car stops working, get the information of how can I get a hold of the agency if I have an emergency, I get into an accident, anything like that. You're going to want that information. So make sure you say, what is the number that's 24-hour access, so that I can give you a call if I have anything happening. Next one is understanding the gas prices. So we're used to, how X amount of dollars per gallon. It's a little bit different when it's X amount of dollars per liter. So you're going to have to do some math and process that. Turns out in a lot of places it's going to be a lot more expensive. So just keep that in mind as you're planning your routes as well, and be able to calculate that as you're planning your budget for your trips too. Next one is road conditions. So in some places, easy breezy, no problem driving. But in other places, it's a little bit more challenging, harsher weather, like someplace like Faroe Islands or Iceland, or even like Scotland or Ireland. It's going to be challenging with the weather coming in. And depending on the time of year that you go, you could get some, kind of funky weather coming in as well. So keep that in mind, and make sure, like if you're from Florida and you've never driven in the snow, you may not want to go to Norway and drive a car in the winter. So keep those things in mind as you are planning your trips. The other thing that's super important is, especially like if you're going to the Balkans and renting a car, like let's say you're, flying into Dubrovnik, renting a car, and you want to go for the day to Bosnia, or you want to go to Montenegro. Well, you need to make sure that if you're going to be crossing borders, you need to find out ahead of time. Do you have to pay a fee? And second of all, do you need a permit for the rental car? So not just you, but there are certain border crossings, like going in from Croatia into Bosnia. You have to have a permit for your rental car, and they will ask you for that at the border, and they are very strict. And if you do not have it, you have to turn around and go back. So you have to pay extra for those things. And in some places, you can't cross the border from one country to another with a rental car, period. So look into that before you plan a road trip into another country and crossing borders. And then the last couple things to keep in mind is make sure as you're planning your routes, keep tolls in mind. If you know your routes ahead of time and you know, hey, I'm going to have to go through 10 different toll stations and they're offering you a good deal at the car rental place, and they say, hey, you're going to have to go through this, at least if you buy this package, if you go through 5 tolls, you'll have paid for it, then yes, it's definitely worth it. If you're not going to be going through very many toll booths, then I wouldn't purchase it. But keep that in mind, because that could save you some money in the long run. And then the last one is speed cameras, and you got to watch out for those because they do really creep up on you. Like in Italy, they just really pop in there. I know in Norway we saw that a lot. You'll be driving along and all of a sudden you'll see the light flashing on the front of the speed camera, and it'll either be green or red. If you're speeding, it's going to be red, and it's going to snap a picture, and it sends the ticket to the rental car agency, who is also going to fine you on top of the ticket as well. So you want to avoid all of those fees. Hopefully these tips will help you out as you plan renting a car abroad in general. As I mentioned, we'll be doing videos individually on the countries, kind of giving you some guidelines and helping you out in making those decisions and helping you to save some money and just things that you want to be aware of. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, guys. Make sure to leave me some comments of some places that you're going and planning to rent a car. And also, don't forget to like the video. We'll see you on our next trip.